All right, Derby fans, 4 minutes left on the bout countdown clock. We are just about ready to get underway for your second bout of the evening. The crowd looks full. There are a lot of people here for this bout. It is the Bombshells and the Doomsday Valkyries. Be joined by Al Annihilate you momentarily up here on the announcer's stand. And the teams are lining up for safety checks, so we'll be getting to team intros here in just a couple of moments. Halfway through our evening, we have already seen a monumental upset at the first half of tonight. The Coffin Draggers with a large victory over the Runaway Brides. So that means the Brides have ended the season at 3-1. They are sitting at second in the standings, and right now the Valkyries are looking to maintain their sitting at third. They are 1-1. They'll be looking to move to 2-1 if they can defeat the Bombshells here this evening. We will find out what happens thereafter.
All right, starting off with the second bout of the evening, I'm going to introduce the Bombshells. Bombshells, take the track so I can introduce you. Bombshells.
From the far bench, taking the track, it's the Bombshells.
Go. Oh, they're waiting to clap hands. Here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
The
There we
Valkyries
go.
were getting ready for the back straightaway
Yes.
hand slapping. We got it now.
All right, skating for the Bombshells tonight. Number 16, Black Mamba. .44 caliber Dirty Carry. 60, that's Gnarly Quinn. Number 55, Skid Vicious. Number 68, Juicy Kill Tour. Number 75, Fitzwilliam Darcy. 96, again, All of You Die. 182, Hannibal Lecture. 1897, Impaler Swift. 1931, Mickey Mental. 1986, Columbiach. Your co-captain tonight, Mad as Sin. And your captain, Tornado Alley.
Coaching for the Bombshells tonight, Mama Seidel and Show Nuff. And now, from the near bench in black with accents of burnt orange, it's the Doomsday Valkyries. Skating tonight for the Valkyries, number 5, Motion Sickness. Number 38, NC Jammer. Number 56, Hugs and Stitches. Number 070, The Real Slim Skady. Number 98, Blair Bitch. Number 304, Critter. Number 411, Stacks Attack. Number 669, Nikki Badass. Number 816, Kansas City. Number 1031, Holly Ween. Number 1981, Sandra Slay O'Connor. Co-captain of the Doomsday Valkyries, number 73, Shirls. And your captain of the Doomsday Valkyries, number 22, Mimi Mahler. Coaching tonight for the Valkyries, Infidel Castro and Invader Slim. All right. We're ready to go. Al was just commenting. I think this will be a I'm excited to see this as well. First bout tonight had all the action, so we are excited for another full 60 minutes of exciting derby action.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it might come down to who can score more points. No pun intended. It always will.
Yes.
But the way that it's going to happen will be interesting.
The officials are all checking in. As per usual, most of the officials have swapped positions. It looks like head referee is going to be Meryl Streak. Your game executioner is Bender B. Rodriguez. All right. First jammer for the Valkyries, number 56, Hugs and Stitches.
And it looks like Skid Vicious on the jammer line for the Bombshells. Both jammers hit the pack at the relatively the same time. Stitches goes low. Skid is out, lead jam. Stitches is stashed, and Skid is coming around for her first scoring opportunity. Mimi's battling right there at the edge. Has to get recycled back by Swift in the back. Skid takes the low, working against Stitches, a little jammer on jammer action. Star still stashed for the Valkyries. A full scoring pass for Skid. The pass has been made to Mimi Mahler, who is going to try to put a little bit of pressure on Skid, and does. Skid calls the jam.
So Skid calls it off. The Bombshells are going to get on the board first here. We'll find out how much in a moment. This is going to be Tornado Alley coming up for the Bombshells and Kansas City for the Valkyries. 5 points for the Bombshells there. The standard 4 and 1 for the Thumb getting that jammer on the first pass. So 5-0. An unusual score to see early in a derby game, I would say.
Allie tries her signature run the rail, is unsuccessful, but does get a nice sweep from Juicy. Takes that little jammer bait coming around lead jam for the Bombshells. Sid still working in the back against a recycling, I think only one Bombshell jammer back there. Allie even looks surprised that she got out of turn 2 alive, coming around on her second scoring pass. Valkyrie still in the pack. Walls forming in the back. A little bit of offense being played by Mads. Allie ping-pongs around, completes another scoring pass. A nice recycle by Olive and Juicy to the front to keep that Valkyrie jammer in the pack. Allie coming around again. A nice solid black wall in the back. Neutralized to the infield by Nikki Badass was Tornado Alley. 8 seconds left in this jam. Might not get any more points. Being neutralized in the back there, and the jam is called.
Yep, we had Sid get out to front of the pack for the Valkyries. Never put the star on, so never became the valid jammer. So for academic purposes, never got out of the pack.
Jammer of record, but not really.
Yes, and we have early on, Kansas City picked up a penalty. It is 13-0, 19-0 Bombshells. That is a 14-point jam for the Bombshells, and the Bombshells have a power jam in the third jam of the game. Bombshells fans know that this is a great chance for them to build a huge early lead here, a lot like the Coffin Draggers just did in the last bout, jumped out to a big, quick lead.
Yes, it was 20-0 very early in that first bout as well, so we're seeing something similar now. Skid working against the last few recycling Valkyrie blockers in the front, Nikki Badass and Mimi Mahler. Little barrel roll from Nikki. Mimi still battling Mads in the front. Neutralized, and Skid is out, lead jam. Did kill about 20 seconds off of that power jam, so we'll see how much they can do with the leftover opportunity. A little mini wall in the back there. Looks like NC and Nikki working against Skid. Skid takes the high. Skid also takes the low. Jammer bait, whip off of Madison's jersey. Neutralized to the infield by a recycling Nikki Badass, and is still currently in the pack, coming around on her second scoring pass.
15 seconds left in the power jam. Skid is going to go ahead and call it off in the jam rather than fight that wall again. So we'll see if Skid got all the points on that pass. One would definitely think.
Yeah, and what I saw from the first bout while I was spectating is more interesting defensive strategies and play when teams were realizing more points were not going to be available.
Yes, it seemed, yeah, I saw a lot of the brides switching to playing. We were talking up here about the jammer pivoting to play pivot a couple of times and knowing that, you know, if getting around for a scoring pass wasn't the point and trying to conserve momentum that way.
Understanding what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An early team timeout here. The Valkyries are going to take a second to slow this down and talk it over. One moment. So I had to get off the horn while the eyes in the sky were discussing with the jam ref about the scoring. And it is settled. 4 points for the Bombshells, 23-0. So Valkyries, as we said, taking a second to hopefully staunch that early momentum for the Bombshells and talk about what to do here coming out of this jam. I see, with the jammer star on, that is Hugs and Stitches.
And it looks like we have a little former minor assault matchup on the jammer line with Mamba for the Bombshells. Yes, minor assault parents clap. I see you, Lisa. All right, and we're underway. Mama takes a high, Stitches takes a low. Takes a hard hit from Hanny, who also takes the brunt of that hit, takes a knee, and then recovers quickly. Mama working against a 3-wall of Valkyries in the back. Stitches working with some help from motion sickness up there in the front, stretching the pack, and was temporarily neutralized, takes a low on Mads, and is out lead jam.
First lead jam for the Valkyries here in jam 4 of the game, so using that timeout to their advantage to come out with a fresh mindset. And now you see, as we just said, there's the jammer for the Bombshells turning around to play jam defense and really not focusing on getting out like at all. Is really focused on just making sure the jammer does not get through. The Bombshells are definitely employing that same tactic.
Yeah, maintenance of what is working for your team is as important sometimes as getting more points.
So that time, then Sandra Slay O'Connor says fine and takes Mamba all the way to the rail, and that lets Stitches get down and try to get in front of at least a couple more skaters. And yes, the clock expires on the jam.
Yeah, Stitches maintained lead there, was basically still in control, even though Mamba was coming around to score, was able to kill the clock by calling the jam.
So Valkyries on the board, 23-5. Bombshells are in front. There'll be about 10 minutes to go in the first quarter. This is Halloween for the Valkyries. All of you die for the Bombshells.
And I feel like it's customary for us to tell everybody either on the stream or in the audience that this is not really a large deficit. Not at this point, and really never.
Not. Still an interesting, a fast start, faster than one would be. We did not think that there would be that many points scored early on, but definitely a quick start for the Bombshells. But as we saw, of course, the last game settled back into where the teams went back and forth throughout. Halloween is out for the Valkyries, and there's Olive out as well, half a track behind. So Holly's going to try to get back up here and get what she can. Runs up into the rail. Great blocking by Dirty Carrie, using the rail to her advantage, and Halloween calls it off at the last possible second.
Really good jammer awareness there by Ween there in the back. Noticed, like out of her periphery, that Olive was close. Still did all the work that was possible until she must call it.
So 3 points for the Valkyries. There'd be 9 minutes to go in the first quarter. This is going to be Tornado Alley, your captain of the Bombshells.
And I think that's Skady in there. Is that Skady?
I heard of that's your jammer. There was an arms penalty on Halloween, and they lose a blocker as well. Everything shifts. This is a huge power jam opportunity for the Bombshells.
Looks like Black has decided to make some personnel changes as well, maybe putting in a power lineup. And for the folks that might not know what that means, there is not abnormal for a team to have a particular set of skaters that they trust with this responsibility to either get a lot of points or stop a lot of points from being scored.
So the Bombshells with their second power jam already in jam 6 of the game. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the game goes on for the Valkyries. And the Valkyries defense, though, really up to the task here. That pack has ground into the back straightaway, and they're running around like ants in an ant farm, and nobody's really got forward momentum here. Tornado Alley is going to try to now grind past on the rail. That's Stitches and Nikki, and oh, Alley, wow. Alley just managed to stay up, pirouetted, and took off. However, the Valkyries did burn over 30 seconds off the clock.
So it looks like the Bombshells have successfully captured Mamba as a goat in the back. They're sending an offensive strike to make sure there's a little bit of interruption in any kind of defensive structure of the Valkyries, giving Allie another opportunity, a better opportunity to try to get around. Has been successfully neutralized multiple times on the low, though, by multiple DV blockers, and the jam comes to its natural conclusion.
All right, let's check on the score from the infield there. However, whatever it's going to be less than 5. And it is going to be a defensive victory for the Bombshells on the power jam. We can definitely say that.
Yes, that was well contested. 26 Bombshells.
3. I'm sorry, defensive victory for the Valkyries. I had that completely backwards. Yeah, no, it was the Bombshells on the power jam. Excuse me. The Valkyries with a great defensive effort there. That is Sandra Slay O'Connor for the Valkyries and Black Mamba for the Red Bombshells. Now is up towards the rail and gets slowed and stopped. Sandy runs into the pivot for the Bombshells.
Sandy neutralized in the infield in the back by Hannibal Lecture. They're out of play in the back, though. They're going to have to skate up and rejoin the pack. Mamba battling Mimi and Skatey in the front. Takes the low, is still neutralized by Critter there on the low. There's a helmet a panty pass right there. Olive's coming around now, lead jammer of record for the Bombshells. Puts that on to make sure that she can score points by the time she gets back around to her opponents. And a black Valkyrie wall forming in the back.
Yeah, at the moment, Mimi has the star in her hand, so she is the person who can be jammer, if not yet, and they have all decided to focus on blocking the jammer to the infield once again, and effectively so.
Yeah, again, like you were mentioning before, most teams have some kind of stat they're keeping, so all the skaters are aware of approximately how long it takes them to get around, so they can use the projection clock to make sure that what they should be doing, playing additional offense, putting the panty on, or going ahead and walling up in the back.
Incredibly effective by the Valkyries at the back of the pack there, preventing any points on that second scoring pass when there had been like 10 seconds on the clock. That's very good. This is NC Jammer for the Valkyries, Skid Vicious for the Bombshells, and Skid spins and is out for the Bombshells. Bombshells are going to look to extend their lead. NC not out yet for the Valkyries and is at the back of the pack, and NC is going to keep trying to get out.
Taking a few falls, but still working against that red wall in the front. Again, Valkyries have decided that defensive reinforcement is more important than offensive strike at the moment. So NC maybe has no help coming. Working against Fitzwilliam in the front, so Darcy does eventually have to let NC out. A little bit more threat. Skid finishes that scoring pass. Let's see how many points she's awarded.
So NC with a long fight to get out of the pack and finally does.
Here's some penalties coming in. It looks like
a loud one.
Bia is in the box for the Bombshells, so that's going to be a little bit short. So the Valkyries will have a one skater advantage in this jam. Sandy on the jammer line for the Valkyries. Tornado Alley for the Bombshells. A stash from Sandy and an immediate pass to Stitches. A pirouette there, low in turn 1 coming around lead jam. Alley is also stashed there in the back.
We saw Stitches do that a lot for the Coffin Draggers in the first jam. Take the star and get directly out of the pack. Races around the outside. This is what the Valkyries will be looking for, is multiple scoring opportunities.
Yeah, a smooth but risky little duck move there on the rail, right underneath Hannibal Lecture's arms, high in between turns 1 and 2. Alley coming around is going to go ahead and put that panty back on for the Bombshells. Is not in a strong position to score, but anything could happen. Stitches does call the jam before Alley is likely to have passed any opponents. We'll see what the score is.
And the Valkyries double their score. 8 more points for the Valkyries, 35-16 as we dip under 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. Holly Ween, who's got a lot of those Valkyries points, is on the jammer line for them now. And Nikki Mintle, for the first time for the Bombshells, is who that is.
Also a little bit of a short pack for the Bombshells again. They're sitting 1 penalty, so the Valkyries will have a player advantage. It's a good time to have a player advantage and lead at the same time. So Ween's coming around on her first scoring pass, looking to see any points that are available. Mental still working against Valkyries blockers, low in turn 3.
Does she go by Ween? I have not met her in person. Ween, thank you. I appreciate it. We've been calling her Holly. Ween now coming around to the pack, number 1031. You see where the name comes from. Running up, trying to just plow through as many skaters as possible. Effective, gets through the pack. 15 seconds left on this jam. The Valkyries are treating this like a power jam, if at all possible.
Really beautiful low body position on Ween. Obviously able to manipulate her boots. Look at that impact, a little rail spin. Very powerful, fun to watch.
There are skaters who absorb contact, and there are skaters who deflect contact. And I feel like that's what Holly Ween, you just saw, just kind of skimmed off a skater, bounced off the rail, never really slowed down. And I see a skater like Strange or Stitches that basically takes a hit and just keeps on going. Nightmare-y, people like that.
Yeah, we have basically 2 different kinds of jammers. All of them fall into about the 2 categories. We have bully jammers and we have elusive jammers.
Yeah.
And their Ween is maybe somewhere in the interstitium.
Yep. Now look at this. That was a 14-point regular strength jam for the Valkyries to close that lead to 35-30, and they induced a jammer penalty on the Bombshells. It's the first power jam for the Valkyries in the game, and that's number 070, the real Slim Skady. She is going to yank the star off and dance forward. The star is handed forward to, guess who? Hugs and Stitches.
Stitches coming around lead jam. We have multiple people having to collect themselves after all of that contact between turns 1 and 2. A little verbal instructions coming from Nikki Badass to the front. Stitches takes a spill from a counter block from Swift in the front, is actively recovering. Mads is going to take advantage of Stitches having to recycle to the back there. Nikki playing some offense. Opens up a nice little pirouette move around Allie in the front. 16 seconds left in the jam. Let's see if more points are on the table.
Excellent move along the inside. Here comes Stitches, and great block by, I almost said Infidel Castro. Great block by Impaler Swift, running Stitches, using that rail to her advantage and just making Stitches run out of space. Fighting through, trying to get through.
Very, very active, but actually very patient scoring there from Stitches.
40-35. That's a 10-point jam for the Valkyries. The Valkyries have taken the lead. That is the first lead change of the bout. And this is, as Al thought, probably going to be nip and tuck back and forth throughout. Heading up to the jammer line is Sandra Slay O'Connor for the Valkyries and Skid Vicious for the Bombshells. This could be the last jam of the first quarter. There's 44 seconds left. We will see.
And like you said, it's not really about lead preservation right now. It's about momentum, right?
Yes.
So both teams at this point would like to get lead jam, carry that into the second quarter, if at all possible. Sandy goes ahead and takes the low and is out lead jam for DV.
Yeah,
Skid still in the pack.
Saw the pack get just into the corner where Sandy could take off and kind of do a run over the edge of the coping and get out and get clear for the Valkyries. So the Valkyries are going to try, as Al mentioned, to control the pace of play heading into the quarter break. 15 seconds left on the quarter clock. Sandy gets out. Dirty Carey racing to the front of the pack and is now out of play and waiting for the pack to catch up to her.
Yeah, we had a smile from Carey. She was really hoping she was still in the engagement zone, but had just reached the edge and couldn't legally block Sandy any longer. Sandy cuts high, is neutralized to the rail, at least temporarily, takes a friendly shoulder on the inside, calls the jam.
So the jam called. The quarter clock has expired, so we are at quarter break. We are going to find out the Valkyries put 10 more points on the board. That's 20 points for the Valkyries in the last 2 jams heading into the quarter break. They take the lead and then extend it. 5-minute break. That was incredibly fast. I don't think we took any breaks of any substance. 50-35, the Valkyries are in front. This is for mid-bracket playoff seeding. These are your number 3 and number 4 teams, as we said. So this is for seeding heading into the final game of the season next month. We'll be back in a moment. We wanted to mention the silent auction. If you're still here in the arena, the silent auction bids have not been too hopping. It looks like everybody was kind of focused on the pet raffle earlier. So if you're here in the arena, go down and check out the silent auction. We've got the Rhea Riot tattoo giveaway. Got the Cardinals game used football. You can go down there and you might be able to get one of those prizes for, you know, not as much as you may have thought. You can go down and check out the silent auction and see. The Rhea Riot tattoo, the Dead Star Press book tote bag, I believe, with a pick your own book option as often. We've got the other silent auction items are a siphon draw gift bag and the other one that I mentioned. The Rhea Riot tattoo, the football, the siphon draw, and
That's all that's listed.
yeah. Let me get something. Hang on a second. I got it. There's another one. Somebody sent me a picture. That somebody being Freya. Freya's helping me with like announcer stuff tonight.
Thanks, partners. So helpful. Oh.
Skincare, used book. Oh, sorry. It wasn't written down, but I said that. Dead Star Press, the used book giveaway, star, and a tote bag. So a tote bag and used books from Dead Star Press. There we go. I just forgot to write that down. That's all. Freya's here and helping me out tonight, was like going and helping me with prizes, then is like texting me pictures. And I'm like, but I don't look at my phone, you know that.
I really enjoyed the Death Star Press vendor. It's a nice little setup over there. So like we mentioned, we saw not only a lead change, but basically a really strong, relatively strong momentum shift right there at the end of the first quarter. So 35-50 going into the second quarter.
Yeah, big swings both ways. As mentioned, you saw the Bombshells came out. Castro.
19-0.
Yeah, Castro, the bench coach. Apropos timeout, obviously, because that definitely stemmed the tide. And it's really interesting, you know, when you watch as much sports as a lot of us do. A lot of us in Derby watch a lot of sports,
I'm
right?
going to go home right now after this and watch the Olympics so hard.
Yeah, God, me too. Yes. I was sitting, I've told people this multiple times. I don't care what sport it is. You park me in front of the TV and tell me how they count, like, who's going to win or lose. Within 5 minutes, I will have decided who karmically deserves to win. I will not only, like, know how the sport works, but I will also be like, okay, well, this team is clearly these are the underdogs and these are who we love. So, yeah, the Olympics are obviously all about that. We were watching curling, women's hockey earlier. I was watching Canada and Switzerland. Switzerland, midway through the third period, had 4 shots on goal.
Yeah.
That's a blowout.
Yes, so I was watching the beginning of the Canada-Switzerland game, and I decided to not watch that, to watch recorded alpine skiing instead. And then I was like, hey, anybody, Olympics fans out there, women's hockey, Canada and the USA play on Tuesday.
That's right.
Be there.
That is going to be big. I believe that is going to be live, like, during the middle of the night here. So you'll probably hear about it if you look at ES, as I do. Plus, then they'll be showing it prime time the night after.
I didn't watch Canada play because I wanted to feel more excited on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's going to be, obviously, there's so many things that I really, as a sports fan, it's just, I'm full of glee. You know, you get to see curling, and you get to see the really odd sports, but then there's just so many stories that come up. And Aaron Jackson, my gosh, I'm looking at Aaron Jackson, like, as the flag bearer, and they looking out for Johnny Pepper. Johnny loves talking about Aaron Jackson, and seeing a former Derby skater who's now a short track ice speed skater and a flag bearer for the Olympics. I thought that was pretty darn awesome.
Hey, everybody, your skills are relatable. Go play another roller or ice sport after this.
Yeah, that's right.
And also, for me, it is, I like to watch the opening ceremony. I'm a big fan of cheering for delegations with only one athlete.
Yeah, we had
Gotta
a
love
huge,
it.
Freya and I watched the opening ceremonies for about an hour and a half last night and just watched the Parade of Nations. I love flags. I'm like, oh, they're calling themselves that now. Okay. Czechia has applied to be called Czechia instead of the Czech Republic. I live for facts like that. Yeah, good time for sports right now. And yeah, there's a football game tomorrow, too.
Small football games are being played tomorrow. All of you die
Underway.
coming around lead jam for the Bombshells out of like a rocket out of the first straightaway.
Yeah, Bombshells with emphasis coming out and getting lead jam in the first jam of the quarter, trying to stem that momentum. As we said, it's been a game of runs so far. Valkyries jammer not clear, gets taken down along the front straightaway hard. That was NC jammer.
Unfortunate little trip up between Mads and NC there. Got their legs tangled and kind of took a barrel roll into the concrete here. Both seem to be okay. Both recovered. Olive working against a 3-wall of DV in the front. Mads maybe picking at it a little bit, playing some offense, but basically taking advantage of NC still being behind Juicy and Hannibal Lecture in the back there.
7 seconds left, and Olive calls it off mid-pack. That wall of Valkyries defenders was not yielding at the front.
And in this situation specifically, like we said, still a relatively close game. There isn't a lot of call for running the clock out, not yet.
Right.
Both teams want more jams in this game at this point.
Right. So on the jammer line for the Valkyries, that's the real Slim Skady, number 070, also known as Skady Gaga, and nearly clear, but gets blocked, knocked around, was almost out, just couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, I think there might have been a cut on the table there. Wanted to make sure that wasn't assessed. Went ahead and came back to the infield and made sure she reset behind anyone that was already positionally in front of her. Skid coming around lead jam. The panty was passed from Skady to Stitches. Both of them actively scoring. Stitches goes ahead and risks it for the biscuit. Makes a contact after the jam whistle. We'll see.
Hey, we want to let you know the bevy truck is fixing to take off. They're wrapping up for the evening. They're out of food. They do not have any pretzels or popcorn left, so if you'd like a soda for the road, pop out there to the bevy truck before they close up for the night. We got an official timeout. It was 1 point for the Valkyries, 51-40, and an OTO on top of that, so we'll find out what the discussion is thereof. So let's see. The Arizona Derby names next bout. I've been teasing it. It's going to be Saturday, March 7th. It's going to be the Bombshells, these Bombshells, taking on the Brutal Beauties. And then it's going to be the Coffin Draggers against the Valkyries. And as we mentioned, should the Valkyries win tonight, they would be 2-1. The Draggers would be 3-0. That would be we already know the Draggers are 3-0. The Draggers are going to be playing for the right to bypass the playoff tournament. Our playoffs work, our number 1 seed gets a pass to the championship game, and then the 2, 3, 4, and 5 play a tournament.
So there'll be like basically a little mini triple header. 2 games, and then the winner of those 2 games will play to get that second seed, and then an undefeated team. Yes, you're right. We'll have had a bye to the championship game. Yeah.
So that's what we'll be looking at on Saturday, March 7th, is the Coffin Draggers trying to stay undefeated and go into the playoffs as the 1 seed, and then the Valkyries, Bombshells, and Beauties all playing for seeding as well. We have on the jammer line for the Bombshells number 17, Mad as Sin, and that's going to be Halloween for the Valkyries. Valkyries up by 8 at the moment, 51-43. Mad's right along the inside and is just out and gone.
Active
So,
recycling going on for the Bombshells, trying to keep Weenan in the front. All of you die Juicy and Hannibal Lecture actively recycling to the front. Ween is able to pop out right past that last Bombshell blocker. Mads takes a leap, is able to take contact mid-air, and still keep her balance, do a pirouette, and call the jam all simultaneously.
I heard an arms and an above shoulders. We got lots of penalties rattling in. This is going to be the real Slim Skady for the Valkyries. I keep pausing after everyone to see if there's a That's Your Jammer. Skid Vicious for the Bombshells once again.
It looks like they've decided. So Skid, again, is going to go ahead and stay up there, as is Skady. Jam number 16 underway. Skady out lead. Skid working against, basically using her agility, moving up and down the track to make the Valkyrie blockers overcommit in one direction or another.
Yeah, as I've talked about, you know I'm fond of talking about different jammer sizes and shapes, and those small jammers just can sneak in there and disappear in the pack and get out. So that's what Skady was able to do, as you said, with the agility and just the slipperiness getting out of there. Now gets blocked, tries to weave around Mickey Mental and can't do it. Good blocking. No, I'm sorry, that's Impaler Swift. Good drop by Swifty on the front of the pack, but now those blockers out of play. So
yeah, Swift was right there on the edge of the engagement zone. I think that last hit might have been the last thing she could have done to make contact with Skady while still being legally able to. Skady takes a little shoulder from Carrie, is able to bounce off, working against Swift in the front. Swift neutralizes her, at least temporarily, to the rail. A little bit of last-minute offense by Sick there. Don't know if any more points were earned, but it was fun to watch.
So the Valkyries put 9 points on the board to stretch their lead back to double digits for the moment. Tornado Alley for the Bombshells. NC Jammer for the Valkyries. Pretty full pack. Very full pack. Nobody in the penalty box.
I think that contributed to the smoothness of the first quarter as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Relatively clean play and fast.
We had 3 power jams in the first quarter, but overall not a lot of penalties. There goes Alley to the front for the Bombshells.
NC still the jammer of record for the DV, working against Hannibal Lecture and Juicy, low in the apex. Mads comes in to try to do a little bit of a low sweep there to get Alley out, and is eventually successful there. Alley coming around after a completed scoring pass for more points. NC working in the back there. Neutralized a few times to the infield, working against Mads. NC able to duck around Mads in the low. Apex between turns 3 and 4, and is now working against a recycling wall of Bombshell blockers in the front. A little bit of a spill there onto Alley's bottom half and takes her to the infield. Calls a jam.
NC got out to enforce the call off. We will check the score. That's going to be a big one for the Bombshells. 9 for the Bombshells to counteract that 9 that the Valkyries just hung, so the lead goes right back to 4. I have Sandra Slay O'Connor on the jammer line for the Valkyries, and that is All of You Die for the Bombshells.
Looks like Blair Bitch has escorted herself to the penalty box, and that means we're going to have an advantage for the Bombshells. Sandy working against the wall in the front. All of You Die working against another little minor assault, former minor assault matchup. All of You Die and Stitches there in the low of turn 1. Panny has been passed to Stitches, and now Stitches is the lead jammer. Panny is actually the lead jammer coming around for DV.
We've had the Bombshells started to possibly pass. Right now it is stashed. It has not been passed yet. All of along the inside. So now here's Stitches up to the pack. Strong defensively by the Bombshells this time, knocking Stitches around and not letting her through. Is now able to dispense with the no, could not. Now does. Gets past that last blocker and gets them out of play. Good fight by Dirty Carry on the front of the pack to slow that down, though. 9 seconds left on the jam clock.
Yeah, ideally a little bit more of a hold-off, right? So what we're looking for at the front, if at all possible, if you've done all that work to recycle up, you want to hold them long enough for them to realize that there's not enough time to come around for any more additional points.
Setting up on the jammer line, waiting for the score still, by the way, for the Valkyries. They're flashing that up. We're going to discuss here. They're going to talk. 1 sec. There. Let them talk that over. They went down, did it trackside, but still get off the horn for that. 9 for the Valkyries. That's the third straight 9-point jam. Back and forth we've gone. The Valkyries jump back in front 69-56. That is the real Slim Skady once again for the Valkyries, getting a lot of work on the jammer line for the team. And that is, Hannibal Lecture for the Bombshells just got blocked hard to the infield while I was saying that.
That's Hanny's first jam tonight, yeah?
Yeah, that is Hanny's first jam for the Bombshells this evening. Halfway through the second quarter, Bombshells sitting a fresh pair of legs up there. We've got Skady is fighting at the back of the pack. Star is off but not past. It would go to Nikki. It has gone to Nikki. Nikki with the full head of steam and is going to run to the front and get past Hannibal Lecture. Hanny was out, but Nikki got there first, and Nikki's out. Hanny kind of has hands up for a second and is now going to try to catch up. Nikki knows she can at least get this point at the back of the pack, gets by Gnarly, and then calls it off. Nikki fighting for every point possible, and those are going to be obviously very realistic that very realistic that neither team is going to hit 100 points before halftime, so you want to fight for those 1 points.
Well, I mean, you only need 1 point to win, so absolutely.
Absolutely. Sandra Slay O'Connor on the jammer line for the Valkyries, along with Skid Vicious. Interestingly, the Valkyries are using a lot of their sub-pool skaters tonight on the jammer line for the Valkyries. Sandra Slay O'Connor quoting Scott Van Pelt, "I'm not tired yet." There goes Skid Vicious. Didn't even know you were making a reference. That's how good you are.
And it looks like the Valkyries absolutely have a player advantage. I see at least 2 Bombshells in the penalty box. Sandy had a little bit less resistance with that shortage of players for the Bombshells, coming around for her first scoring pass.
Skid lines up at the back of the pack. Excellent defense back there by the pivot for the Valkyries. That's Mimi at the back of the pack, keeping Skid basically hemmed in place and could not get around Mimi.
And I would say that in general, I've seen more of a lean from the Valkyries in the second quarter toward not necessarily offensive power, but defensive stance.
Yeah, and now Sandy creeps by along the inside. Mimi just kind of bullied somebody out of the way and opened a door. 16 seconds left on the jam, and finally out the front of the pack goes Skid, looking much more weary for the treble, having fought through the pack. Sandy is trying to get points. Was going to call it off, but got blocked down to the infield, kind of lost her balance, and unfortunately couldn't call it off. Clock expires on the jam. We got a jammer down here, a blocker got to hit hard on the front straightaway going down. That was Stack's attack for the Valkyries.
Valkyries are up. Looks like Bender's coming on the track. Maybe an OTO being called.
Yep, looks like it's going to be
timeout.
Team timeout.
Team timeout red.
Bombshells. Bombshells are going to use one of their first half timeouts now. So points for both sides there after that lead change sliding into the pack. 8 for the Valkyries, 2 for the Bombshells. At the moment, the lead is an even 20, 78-58.
Which is almost a mirror of the lead that we saw at the beginning of the first quarter. It was 19-0, so pretty close. It's kind of moving along in sections.
Don't forget about your upcoming events here at the warehouse. New Skater Orientation is the first Sunday of the month, Sunday, March 1st. New Skater Orientation is 9 a.m. to noon. You can come down and try it out, see if Derby is for you. The All Skate for everybody to hang out and skate on the bank is the last Friday of the month, so that's Friday, February 27th from 6 to 9 p.m. right here at the warehouse. Looks like that team timeout is wrapping up. As we did mention, there were points for both sides there. 5 minutes to go until halftime. Bender B. Rodriguez.
Looks like both teams are ready, though. Plans appear to have been made, so they're just waiting for the regulators, it looks like, to blow them up.
All right, back to the action we go. As we said, 4:58 until halftime. Holly Ween for the Valkyries.
And Tornado Alley for the Bombshells. Immediately with the stash from Alley. Ween playing a little jammer-on-jammer defense. Ween looking for a friendly shoulder. Goes ahead and takes Shirley's high side. It's not out yet. Mads has her number, at least temporarily. Neutralizes Ween to the rail temporarily, working against Mads still. Alley working against Shirls in the back.
Heard somebody on the bench telling Alley to go, so they believe that the blocker had come off, but Alley disagreed. And obviously that is up to the jammer to make sure they don't get a penalty. Allie with the windmilling her arms, but gets upright and gets out of the pack and is going to put that star back on for the Valkyries.
Yeah,
the Bombshells.
Had a kind of lucky recycle there. Ended up near the front with her own teammates at the front. So got a kind of a free pass there. No actively recycling DV to keep her from getting out. So is coming around lead jam for the Bombshells. 4 seconds left in the jam. Not a lot of scoring opportunities remain.
Yep.
Allie calls the jam.
Ween took the star off and was playing jammer defense at the back to prevent any further points. Valkyries have done that before, and effective once again. 4 points for Tornado Alley there.
Looks like Skady on the jammer line for the Valkyries. Skid on her way for the Bombshells. Looks like another clean previous jam, so full packs? No, we just lost a Bombshell, so it looks like a one-player advantage for DV.
That was 4 points for the Bombshells, by the way, 78-62 with 3.5 minutes to go until halftime. Skid spins down to the inside. Skady up to the high side against Darcy, and Darcy with the good defense pins Skady to the rail and skids out.
A really nice initial neutralization of Skid to the infield by Sick, but then a beautiful revenge hit by Swift to go ahead and spring Skid right here in the early straightaway. A nice hop, skip, and a jump from Skid coming around for her second scoring pass. DV's jammer, Skady still in.
Looks like the star's been passed to Stitches. So now Stitches trying to get around Swifty, and Swifty is playing great defense individually at the back of the pack, as she often does. Stitches now is able to spring to the front and is going to dispense with Dirty Carry and get clear. Try to keep this to one final scoring attempt for Skid Vicious, who gets knocked down, slides on the knee pads down to the inside, but will have time to get up, reestablish, and call it off.
Was super close to landing that, just took that last little, the coping got her.
So, 10 big points for the Bombshells there now. The lead is back to single digits, 78-72 for the Valkyries as we're closing in on halftime. That's going to be Juicy Kill Tour for the Bombshells and NC Jammer for the Valkyries.
Looks like we have one more Bombshell in the penalty box, so again going to be a player advantage for DV, which for anybody in the audience that doesn't play roller derby, that's a lot. One player is very, 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 very impactful. Juicy neutralized initially by Nikki Badass down in turn one. Pack is pretty slow, grinding through turn one. NC is lead jam for DV. Bombshell, so Juicy, there's a stash definitely, right? Juicy still in the back, still has a panty, working against Nikki and Blair Bitch in the front. Nikki takes Juicy up to the rail. Nice transitional blocking by Nikki Badass. One blocker to be in the front. Does do that. NC wants the point. Is going to continue to skate. Calls the jam.
It looked like Juicy kept herself from becoming a point. We will confirm that from the infield. But, yeah, it would appear that way. As we've discussed, that is not a thing. It was correct. 82-72, Valkyries in front by 10. Probably not the last jam of the second half. Possibly the last jam of the second half now. It could be. Under a minute to go. And that's Mimi Mahler for the first time for the Valkyries against All of You Die for the Bombshells for the millionth time tonight overall.
I gotta love a former minor assault jammer v jammer. I do love it. Mimi neutralized to the infield. Olive able to squeak by with a friendly shoulder off of Bia in turn one, coming around lead jam. Mimi also took advantage of a sideways blocker carry and coming around, not lead, but close. Really trying to put pressure on Olive. DV is trying to escape to the front, get into points protect. Olive comes around, takes a clean pass on the inside of Sandy, and maybe gets a full pass. Let's see.
So that does leave time for one more jam before halftime, and it's going to be Halloween versus Tornado Alley. Full pack? No. There goes a Valkyries blocker, and a Bombshells blocker, and another Valkyries blocker. All right. So here we go. Once, as I said, Halloween, Tornado Alley, last jam of the first half for sure, as of now.
Ween tries the high, as does Alley. NC and Who's that? Cheryl's in the back working against Tornado Alley. Cheryl's working her way to the front to make sure she can get back in front because it looks like it's her responsibility to help NC not let Alley get out. Oh! Heroic effort by Nikki Badass there. Alley is able to get by. It's coming around lead jam for the Bombshells. Some hard falls happening between turns 3 and 4. Ween is also out. Alley coming around on a scoring pass is able to get at least 1 point in the back.
Ween just had to bowl over NC Jammer and then just stepped over the top like Kobe going over Tyronn Lue.
Got to do what you got to do.
That was cold, but you got to do what you got to do. Like you said, NC was down, and Ween's like, I got to go. So we will check the score from the infield and find out what we've got as we head into our 15-minute halftime break.
Really close, like we thought it would be.
All right, so as we head into the break, they had to check that score from the infield. 5 points for the Bombshells. Heading into halftime, it's nearly tied. Valkyries 82, Bombshells 81. We've got ourselves one heck of a bout. We've got 14 and a half minutes left in this halftime break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Go down and check out Vendor Village, visit Raven's Sweet Haven, and grab a few sweet or savory items before you head home this evening as well. Get on down there and check that out. We'll be back with you in just a little bit. All right, we are just about ready to get back to the action. 30 seconds to go on the bout countdown clock. Practically a brand new ball game, everybody. 82-81. Valkyries are in front in what has been a very, very back and forth bout.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 2 quarters. I was having some discussions with my roller derby brethren down there, and I'm thinking that it's not necessarily about offensive power, but which team can control what the other team is doing better.
Yes, I would thoroughly agree with that.
Okay, looks like the regulators are getting ready. Both teams appear to have their next lineups called. Plans are likely being made. Looks like the Bombshells already have a skater in the penalty box. So maybe Tornado Alley sitting for a penalty in the last jam of the second quarter.
I have to mention that Freya Huggs has been sitting up here in the announcer's nest this evening and like watching what the announcers do. And it's interesting because Freya's been up here before as an eye in the sky. They're always so focused on their job as eye that they really like never paid attention to me announcing. And I'm just mentioning this because occasionally while they're sitting here, like they'll reach out and they'll pat me on the back and like scratch my shoulder. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's right. My spouse is up here. But they never did that. Like when they were eye in the sky, they would never like reach down, pat me, talk to me, anything like that. They were very professional as eye. So this is just, it's very interesting.
Bender
Anyway,
did just go ahead and signal that Mama Seidel has instituted a challenge for the Bombshells, and since Alley is the only Bombshell in the penalty box, we're going to assume that the penalty being challenged is on Alley.
Derby fans in attendance, I need to repeat one of the ground rules to you all. This is serious. Stay behind if you are not a photographer or part of the bout production crew. You must stay behind the yellow line at all times.
That's what we thought. Okay.
Stay behind that yellow line during game action if you are not a photographer or part of the bout production crew. You will know if you are or not. I was just asked by somebody on the infield that they have seen people standing too close to the track. Do not do that. That is a safety hazard. Please do not stand inside the yellow line during game action. All right, challenge continuing. Yeah, we do not yet know what the challenge is. Not points. It'll be for a penalty. So we know that much anyway, but we'll find out what that penalty is momentarily. So this is a challenge by the Bombshells, and the Bombshells are technically using their first half challenge because this would have been before the half ended. So this is not the Bombshells' second half challenge that is in question. So basically, if they lose this, they're not going to get another one, interestingly, because that's how it would work. Anyhow, I'm taking a look at our announcer notes and seeing what else we can cover during this challenge. We also wanted to let you know. Yeah, no, it's not on here yet, but we've got Chingadera coming up in April. That is going to be an RDCL sanctioned tournament. Do we know who's traveling for that yet? Has that been any word on who's going to be here?
I am not positive about the adult teams, but I know Interleague did reach out to me and ask whether or not the minor assaults would be interested in contesting, possibly against LA.
Well, that's
so if that
good
comes
news.
to fruition, we're very excited about that.
That's super exciting.
It
That's
is.
always a good time. LA's minors team, if you all don't know, LA's minors team is a buzzsaw. They're as good as Arizona was in 2018. LA right now is as good as Arizona was, just deep pool of talent. They just keep throwing waves of skaters at you. It's like skating against the brides, frankly. Really.
Yeah, it's they have a really strong like roller derby culture, and they are also very talented at cultivating young talent and keeping young talent for a long period of time.
So they're announcing it on the infield, and once they break, then we can tell you what the answer was, and then we'll get back to the action. They have not yet told the teams, so we can't tell you yet, is how it works. And now we can tell you. The challenge is unsuccessful. The penalty will stand for the Bombshells, so we very well may be coming up on what is a power jam for the Valkyries to start the second half. We will have to see.
Still don't know what penalty was challenged, except that it was on Allie. So, and I know that she was the jammer of record, so maybe it was after a, oh, okay. It was a cut. Okay, the cut was upheld.
It was, but we have a jammer on the track for the Bombshells. So I'm entirely, yeah, it could be double jammer down. That may be, there we go. Double jammer down would totally make sense. That's why she's sitting there just holding the star, but it's not on. Yes. So it was double jammer down. Skid does get out for the Bombshells.
NC working against, looks like Darcy and Carrie in the back there, successfully went through a gap that was created from the other team's defensive structure. NC coming around, not lead, but threatening and challenging. Skid goes ahead and calls the jam. Four points awarded to Skid Vicious for the Bombshells. That brings the score to 85-82. Lead change. It was 81-82. Yeah, so the Bombshells just took the lead there by 3. Stitches on the jammer line.
And Tornado Alley for the Bombshells. So yeah, Bombshells have jumped in front here. We're practically tied coming out of the break, obviously.
Stitches working hard against All of You Die on the rail. Allie coming around, lead jam. Jammer race is on and live. Allie calls the jam.
Yeah, Allie did not have much of an advantage there, and Stitches very fleet of skate, so Allie calls it off and we'll reset for another jam. This is going to be Skid Vicious once again and Holly Ween for the Valkyries.
Looks like the Bombshells are going ahead and employing that back wall strategy now that they have switched to the close bench. Pretty common there, looking for a relatively staunch defensive structure there to absorb any initial impact from Ween. And see, basically Skid's gonna take what's left over. Takes the high, works opposite of the opposing jammer, and ideally less blockers are there, and it worked. So Skid coming around lead jam. Ween still working against Darcy and Carrie and Mental and Swift, actively recycling to keep her in the pack. Skid coming around in between turn 1 and 2, looking for some ideally offense being played for her. Is able to get some hips around, recover from the infield, and still working on scoring. Working on that last passing ween in the front, calls the jam.
Nikki had taken over as jammer for the Valkyries and had gotten out of the pack, forcing the call off. I heard black jammer. I heard an arms penalty on Holly Ween. This is going to be a power jam for the Bombshells.
So Bombshells
Or is
looking to
it?
take it. Ooh,
Do we have a
Bombshells,
double jammer
ooh.
down, or do we have... We do have a jammer for the Bombshells. That is Tornado Alley. Your captain is on the jammer line for the Bombshells.
Looks like we're being... Okay, pack's being decided for as far as who needs to sit for penalties. Looks like Bombshells are full, and so are DV, with the exception of their jammer. A little bit of points per check. DV trying to get to the front, get into a position of pack definition and control of the speed of the pack as Allie's coming around to try to get out on her initial pass.
Valkyries have slowed the pack to a crawl here in the back straightaway and are not letting Allie out, but she is able to get along the coping and get out. Valkyries ran almost half the power jam clock off, though, so good defensive start for the Valkyries.
Yeah, so we are looking for... The jammer wants the pack to go fast. The defense wants the pack to go slow, if and when a wall has already been created. But ideally, we want points protect. We want to see DV to the front, and we want to see this goading situation that's happening right now with Nikki be neutralized in the back. Looks like almost split there. Went ahead and come together right there at the end of the first straightaway. But nice small lateral movement, really impacting how easily Allie can move, and was pretty successful at neutralizing.
Yeah, you saw Allie try to kind of swing around the inside, and Nikki just closed the door and forced Allie to go off onto the infield therein. Looks like probably a team timeout for the Valkyries upcoming, since they have not yet fielded anybody.
I think they got 3 on the first,
There's Castro signaling for it. We'll wait for Bender to make it official.
or was it 1?
Waiting for the score.
Currently 89 to 82, waiting on the points to be reported for that last power jam to see how much advantage the Bombshells were able to take on that.
4 points for the Bombshells. 93-82. Great defensive effort by the Valkyries.
Yes, very successful.
During that. Sorry, I keep forgetting Freya's behind me. I tend to rock back sometimes when I'm stretching my legs, and I'm gonna just tumble straight back into Freya at this point. As I said, I'm just yeah. It's interesting having a different person up here than usual. Hi. Say interesting. Yeah, it's interesting having my spouse near me. Bombshells 93, Valkyries 82. The Bombshells have extended this to a double-digit lead for the first time. Timeout is continuing. This is a team timeout for the Valkyries. Ben Tong, your outside pack ref, has hopped out and run out of the pack. Okay, so Sandra Slay O'Connor for the Valkyries, Skid Vicious for the Bombshells.
Standing on the jammer line for the Valkyries, Skid Vicious for the Bombshells. Both of them hit the pack at approximately the same time. Skid with a friendly wall back there, and Sandy with a wall of opponents instead. Looks like the panty was passed. It was. Stitches,
Yes.
the pivot of record is about to become the jammer. Skid coming out with a full head of steam, making sure that there's adequate pressure placed upon Stitch's scoring opportunities. Calls the jam. Looked forward. So what you saw there, if everyone was wondering why Stitches didn't continue to skate, you clearly saw her vision go up, and she saw no offensive opportunity. So went ahead and called the jam.
No chance for her to get a point before surrendering a point, so you call it off. As soon as she straightened into the back straightaway, you definitely saw she went up. It was pretty much made that sound almost exactly. Up.
NC on the jammer line for the Valkyries, and Olive you die for the Bombshells. Olive swings around the low back wall, is met with a 3-wall of blockers and a little bit of help with Mads in the front. Still working against 2 blockers in the front. Looks like NC working against active recycling Bombshells in the back. Taken up to the rail by Juicy, taken down to the coping by Mamba. Olive working against Sid and Bitch in the front. Neutralized to the infield, back on the line. A little tiny bridge going on. Out of play in the front. And All of You Die is coming around again. Lead jam.
NC trying to sneak by along the coping, but runs out of space. There's 16 seconds left in this jam, and NC is going to try to, well, also helps while teaming up with Nikki to run Olive off to the infield and basically get rid of all that momentum.
For sure, this is an opportunity where if and when you are not going to be able to escape, you do want to make sure that as many points from your opponent are not available or scored.
So the Bombshells should tack a couple more points on the board here. We will find out. Sandra Slate O'Connor once again, the indefatigable Sandra Slate O'Connor. So on the jammer line, and Skid Vicious, number 55 for the Bombshells. Bombshells put 2 more points on the board as we close.
Looks like jam 31 was clean as well, so full amount of blockers up there for each team. Sandy tiptoes past Dirty Carry on the coping, and it's coming around lead jam. Little fancy feet there. Skid working against the black defense. Last blocker to beat Stitches, able to neutralize her to the infield in the apex there. Actively working against Recycling Stitches and Sick in the front. Is out. Not lead, but is coming around threatening. Let's see what happens at the rest of the jam.
Sandy down on the infield. And we'll
It looks like a
turn our-
panty might be lost.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll turn back here. Sandy is down on the infield and is getting looked at. A signal to the no moss to the trainers and is heading back to the Valkyries bench. Had taken a hard fall down there. I was waiting for that helmet to pop up. So Sandy back to the bench under their own power. Skid gets through, and either the clock expired or Skid called it off.
Right, and it's always really obvious on the track anyway when something completely out of system happens.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like Pavlov response breaks.
So an official timeout. The regulators are going to talk over very briefly here what went on there. 4 points for the Bombshells. They are nearly to 100, 99 to 82. Halfway through the third quarter, 7:23 to go here in the third quarter. We could let you know about the Raya Riot Tattoo at the Riot Collective Private Studio. Tattoos and laser removal come with zero judgment and all the good vibes. Whether you're adding new art or letting go of the old, you'll find a safe, inclusive, and chill space made just for you. Follow them online at the Riot Collective, _Riot_Collective on Instagram, I would believe. Officials now speaking with the coaches.
I didn't hear a timeout call.
It's an official timeout. Team captain's heading up there as well. Silent auction, everybody. Wait, I got to get off the horn. 1 second. Discussion continuing. We wanted to let you know here in the arena, by the way, the silent auction is going to close at the end of this quarter. So here in another 7 minutes and 23 seconds of game action, the silent auction will close for the evening. The Ray Riot Tattoo gift certificate, the Dead Star Press tote bag and books. We've got the Arizona Cardinals game-used football and the Siphon Draw Apothecary skincare bag. We will be announcing the winner of those after the end of the third quarter. Discussion continuing. A lot of animated discussion with the officials and the benches. No idea what about, but a lot of discussion continuing here on the infield. We added 1 point to the Bombshells. Rule explanation is that when a skater takes themselves out of the jam, they become a ghost point back to the beginning of the jam. Ergo, technically speaking, Sandra Slay O'Connor became a ghost point, and that scoring pass for the Bombshells was worth 5, not 4. So the Bombshells are squarely on 100 for the bout now, 100-83.
And if you were lurking the silent auction, as Clifton just mentioned, you have 7 minutes and 23 seconds until that is called. And if you haven't yet had an opportunity to stop by the silent auction table, go check out what is available and see if you're interested. Again, it does look like both team representatives have returned to their respective team boxes, and there are lineups called and plans likely being made by both teams. We're just waiting on that rolling whistle to get game action started. We're on jam number 32, and the current score is 100-83 in favor of the Bombshells.
Yep. Bombshells have cultivated themselves a nice little lead here at the starting of the second half. But it's been about 20 either way. Nobody's really gotten out of control. So we will continue, and it looks like we're ready to go. All right. Nothing needed to be said to us. We have nothing to share with you. They got it all sorted out. We'll get back to it. Hannibal Lecture for the Bombshells. Holly Ween for the Valkyries. Been 7:23 to go for a while, and now we're ready.
Looks like full packs from both teams. Hannibal Lecture tries to run that rail. Unsuccessful. Nikki is able to neutralize her right there in the turn 1. Halloween coming around full head of steam out of turn 2, coming around lead jam and on her initial scoring pass. Nikki dumped to the infield, working versus Hanny in the back. Hanny takes a friendly shoulder. Juicy tries working against Sid to get Hanny out, is unfortunately recycled back in. Does end up taking the low between 3 and 4 and is out, not lead, but is actively on a long distance jammer race. Holly Ween calls the jam.
Ween called it off. She definitely believes she got in front of all of those skaters. We will find out. And she did. 5 points. 100-88. Mimi Mahler for the Valkyries. Skid Vicious once again for the Bombshells. Skid's been up there like every other jam, I swear.
Yes, a perennially strong jammer for the Bombshells for many, many seasons now. Mimi coming in against a reinforced with Skid back wall of Bombshells, working against Carrie and Skid in the back there in the low. A quick duck to the inside around Darcy and around Swift at the front is coming around. Mimi picking up speed. Skid trying to leave Mimi as little time as possible to make decisions about it. Looks like Mimi is committed to getting as many points as possible.
Even stretching the lead here.
Pack is really racing.
Wow. Game effort during the jammer race by Mimi. Definitely. Well, I don't know if many skaters would turn around and see Skid less than the length of the straightaway away and actually be like, you know what, I'm going to try it. And Mimi pulled it off.
Those OG minor assaults aren't scared.
Yes.
They aren't scared.
No fear. My goodness. That's Tornado Alley. That was 3 points for the Valkyries, by the way. Lead single digits for the Bombshells, 100-91. Tornado Alley already has the star off. That is also, by the way, NC Jammer for the Valkyries, trying to shove past some blockers, frustrated at the back wall of the Bombshells.
And before we move completely on from that previous jam, you want to see that, though, right? You want to see your lead jammer working hard, and you'll be working hard for them by the time they get there. That's part of it.
So Allie now weaves through that Bombshells defense at the back of the pack. NC still hung up. Allie gets blocked off to the inside at the front of the pack, then gets up and goes. So we will check on that. And I look down here. We have this. I have a star off signal from one of the refs again, so must have been up and down. Allie up to the rail. Still got the jammer for the Valkyries. Incognito.
And some pack definition like manipulation being played here as well. Seeing the pack be split and or come back together on purpose from the defensive structure in the front. Penalties being called in and being reported.
And I just heard red 6 cut jammer. That's 4 words the Bombshells did not want to hear right about now. That means the Bombshells, after a 0-point jam, have surrendered a power jam. It is a power jam for the Valkyries. Mimi Mahler at the jammer line, your captain of the Valkyries, but there will be a stoppage in play before we get there. Official timeout. Bender B. Rodriguez looking around and making sure we all saw that. 3:56 to go in the third quarter. The officials are going to take a moment to make sure we've got this one all set. Power jam for the Valkyries pending with them down 9. Lead change? Who knows? Let's see.
And with only 3 minutes and 55 seconds left in the third quarter, you are going to start to see a little bit more clock manipulation. You are going to see both teams be discerning about which teams or which players are going to put in these lineups for these game-changing power jams.
So there, it is on the board now. There, 109.91. Bombshells with 9 points.
That could happen 2 ways. Like this team, when the jammer comes up.
And as we said,
And with about, like I said, 19 minutes of gameplay left, both teams are not trying to let either their opponent get much farther away than they are now.
after the officials discussed it, penalty rescinded. No longer a power jam for the Valkyries. No longer a penalty on Tornado Alley. Mimi Mahler and All of You Die instead of just Mimi Mahler. So that's what the Bombshells were looking for. Definitely a big jam, and then also coming right back with a full-strength jam instead.
Olive working against Stitches in the front, and Sandy. Mimi trying to look for a friendly shoulder in turn 2, gets it. A nice little low sweep from Stitches and is coming around lead jam. Olive trying to accelerate. Mimi's got about quarter of a track, spreading it out to about half. Again, Bombshells trying to get into points protect. Valkyries really just need to make sure they don't all get away. Mimi's successful at getting all the way to the front, does call the jam. Looks like some penalties may have been reported. Swift is reporting to the box. And that is going to look like at least a one-player advantage for DV coming off of that 4-point regular jam.
Yep, Valkyries now closing in on 100 themselves, 109.95. That's Holly Ween for the Valkyries, Hannibal Lecture for the Bombshells.
Ween working against, that was a strange little interaction. Somehow her and Hanny ricocheted off of each other right there on the back line. Haney coming around lead jam. Ween was able to get past Mads in the front and is also coming around on a half-distance jammer race. Nikki tries one little move. Haney is coming to the front, does go ahead and call the jam. Action all the way to the fourth whistle there at the end. Mimi on the jammer line for DV. And that's Skid Vicious for the Bombshells.
We
Power
got a lot
lineup
of things.
being
Yeah, I was going to say, looks like
played.
we're setting up for a Bombshells power jam. We're still waiting for points, it looks like.
Looks like we have at least one penalty being reported as well. Gnarly in the penalty box for the Bombshells, and at least the Black Jammer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Black with all their blockers, but no jammer. And
All right, so this is big for the Bombshells here. Yeah, Bombshells up by 17, and now a power jam for the Bombshells. 113.95. We're in the late parts of the third quarter, and the Bombshells trying to build some points here. They got Skid Vicious on the jammer line and already out and clear.
So they have
Bombshell-
Stitches goaded in the back there as Skid comes around lead jam. Only jam. Takes the high side. A little bit of offensive strike from Mads, but the Valkyrie wall was able to bend, not break. Will be able to withstand that little bit of a strike. Stitches is able to ungoad herself and try to get back into points protect in the front. Still working to get back with her teammates and neutralizing Skid while she has the opportunity, while she's back there. She's like, I might as well block Skid anyway. Coming up to the front, DV still running points protect. Able to neutralize Skid, still not out. Lead but not actively scoring.
Yeah, hasn't
but
gotten
has
through.
not gotten
has,
through
has
again.
probably
Right.
gotten all 5 of these points, but the Valkyries have
Recycled,
definitely kept it from being more than 5. Good defensive effort by the Valkyries on the power jam there. Yeah, that really was a precarious point. If the Valkyries had surrendered a big power jam there, that could have been huge. Back to the jammer line. Good to see that she's back up on her skates is Sandra Slay O'Connor.
Yeah, that was pivotal for DV, being able to neutralize only a 3-point power jam.
Yes.
Very, 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 very well executed.
Huge. Wow, 3 points. Look at that.
We said
I
defense,
had said
you should be clapping.
That's right. I said, and I quote, I'm sure she's gotten all 5 of those points by now. I am going to stop saying I'm sure. Excellent defense by the Valkyries. Wow.
That's okay. Announcers have to make sure that our mouths are big enough for our feet.
Yes. Now, Allie went right down Main Street, but got blocked off by the last Valkyries blocker and now has to set up behind a 2-wall. Tries to get clear, but could not. Sandy's at the back of the pack for the Valkyries. Strong 3-wall of defenders for the Bombshells are not letting Sandy out either as the pack kind of trickles into the back straightaway.
Really laser focus in the front by Critter and Nikki and Sick there.
Quarter clock has expired, so this will take us to the end of the third quarter. Sandy's got the start off. 25 seconds left in the jam. The entire pack is just sort of making their way past us here in the front straightaway. Neither jammer has had much luck so far. There goes Sandy as I say that. 15 seconds left, and Sandy's going to try to get around and get some points for the Valkyries here. Allie's going to wall up and play defense at the back of the pack. We've seen the jammers do this all night long. Sandy runs into Allie. Allie goes out the front of the pack, so she's out for the Bombshells.
Maybe got a few incidental points there
Could
at the
be.
back. Let's see what they award Sandy there. Was the only actively scoring jammer, so let's see.
1 point for Sandy. So the Bombshells were down 82-81 at halftime. They head into the fourth quarter up 20, 116-96. That's one solid jam, obviously. But the Bombshells would rather be in front than not in front, I'm sure. 116-96. The Bombshells are fighting for third place in the standings. And we will be right back with the remainder of this bout. All right, Derby fans, about 15 seconds to go until we get into the fourth quarter. Bombshells looking to protect this lead that they have built, 116-96. Valkyries looking to come from behind and steal this one away in the last 15 minutes of action.
All right, we're waiting for that rolling whistle to return us to the roller derby action. 15 minutes to decide seeding. Basically, what we're coming down to seeding at this point.
Yes.
In this point of the season.
Yes, we are. Back to it we go. Holly Ween for the Valkyries. Skid Vicious for the Bombshells as we get ready to go.
So again, we're likely going to start to see, if we haven't already, not only lineup and not only pack, but clock manipulation. So DV with this 20-point deficit, it's very important for them to get as many lead jams as possible so they can control the scoring situation.
So
Tries to juke there. Skid's still successful, and then out like a bullet. Caught by Mimi, at least temporarily. Did hold her up long enough, likely for Ween to get out on a scoring pass, and does
Ween
call the
did.
jam.
I was going to say that was very interesting. You saw Ween got out quick. Skid immediately, knowing that the Bombshells only had 3 blockers, went ahead and said, all right, I'll be your goad, and then took off when she had a chance. We've seen that a lot tonight, the jammers being multifaceted this evening from all 4 teams we've seen.
It's kind of like a defensive pause we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
What is going to be the most advantageous for my team in this moment, knowing that Skid has plenty of strength and power when it's advantageous to escape.
So the Valkyries hit 100 exactly, 116, 100, both teams into triple digits. This is Sandra Slay O'Connor for the Valkyries, Tornado Alley for the Bombshells.
So
Sandy,
Bombshells need to maintain and Valkyries need to chip.
Yep, that's what they're working on. The Valkyries hacked into it, 4 points there. Neither jammer out. Pack slowly making its way into the back straightaway. Neither jammer wearing a star. Once again, it's Allie and Sandy. The one maroon helmet on the Valkyries, and then Allie's back there towards the back of the pack. And both jammers look like they're kind of okay with letting the clock run. Neither one of them are really fighting to get out. Allie is still trying to drive a little bit. We're at the point in the jam where even if they got out, it probably wouldn't matter anyhow.
They wouldn't be able to make it around, correct. And stalemate jams like this absolutely benefit the winning team at the moment. So in situations where offensive strikes need to control their speed, you never want your offense to end up in front of your wall that you're trying to get past because they can't go backward to break it up for you.
Right. So 116, 100, Bombshells in front. The Real Slim Skady for the Valkyries. That's Skid Vicious once again for the Bombshells. One Bombshells blocker down off the track.
So still a very important advantage to be played if they can take advantage of it for DV. Leads, the number of leads, quantity of leads is going to be very important for who's going to be the eventual victor of this game. Skid takes a whip and successfully avoids Nikki coming to the infield. Skid coming around lead jam. Skady taking the high, working versus Swift and Carey. Takes a spill there, high in turn 2. See if DV are able to get a little bit of a wall back together there. Seal Skid from getting a clean pass through turn 2, but is actively working against NC and Bitch at the end of the second straightaway. Recycling. Nikki is able to get out.
Star pass forward to Nikki Badass for the Valkyries to try to force the call off here. Skid is trying to get past all the skaters, gets up and calls it off with Nikki coming in with a full head of steam.
Also, very smart play there, not maybe knowing exactly whose position she has to honor.
Right.
Gives herself enough time to recover from the infield, recover to be upright and in play because she touched the concrete and still call the jam in time without letting the other team score. A lot more going on.
4
than maybe
points.
you might know.
4 points for the Bombshells, pushes their lead back to 20, 120 to 100. Hugs and Stitches for the Valkyries. Hannibal Lecture for the Bombshells. Stitches has not started on the jammer line in a while, but has taken over as jammer many times.
Lots of active legs there.
A lot of active legs. Spun to the inside. That was behind the post, and I cannot tell from there, but Stitches thinks she was okay, got up and went around. Big block by Mimi Mahler, wiping out Hannibal Lecture in the back straightaway. Stitches now up to the pack, spins and wins, tries to get through.
Tries to push that last blocker out of play, is flattened by Mads, but they had stretched the engagement zone all the way out to the front. I will have to see whether or not those points were awarded already. Calls the jam high in turn 1.
So we'll see. Stitches got hit real hard there and spun around to the infield. Stitches got 5 points, however, 120-105. Bombshells are in front. Valkyries cutting into the lead. We got your silent auction results. We'll get those to you in the next stoppage in play. Holly Ween is your jammer for the Valkyries. All of you die for the Bombshells. And Ween is near the front, as is Olive. Ween gets out.
Sneaks out right there on the coping.
Timely
coming around
block.
lead jam. Very timely.
Get a timely block, getting Olive knocked just off to the infield. And now Olive's going to get clear, but Ween's got half the track advantage to get some time to get some points on the board.
Nikki actively breaking apart that back wall of Carey and Swift, and Ween just cuts right through all the way to the front of the pack.
So Ween calls it off. It looks like we're going to have a team timeout here, so we'll have a chance to get you those as promised. Bombshell's calling a timeout for some reason. We'll get the points from the infield. One moment. As we mentioned, Bombshells definitely. Both teams have one timeout remaining. Both teams do have their challenge. That's your game reset. 4 points for the Valkyries, 120-109. The Bombshell lead right now is 11 with 9.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Let's bring you some silent auction winners. The winner of the $300 tattoo voucher at Raya Riot Tattoo is Carrie Rose. Carrie Rose, head on down and see down there. Yeah, not to us. We'll send these back down. But Carrie Rose, you're the winner of the tattoo voucher. The winner of the Dead Star used book goodie bag is Lori Calvaro or Calvarno. Not sure, but Lori? Lori Calvaro or Calvarno? Or Calvano, I guess. Lori could be Leanne. Anyhow, you're the winner of the, yeah, you'll know if you bid it on it. You'll know who I'm talking about. Stephanie Sheets or Steets or Stats. Stephanie Stats, thank you. Matt's mom, Stephanie Stats, has won the Siphon Draw skincare package. And Joe Comprone has won the Cardinals autographed football. Joe Comprone. Those are our 4 winners for the silent auction. Head down to the silent auction table to settle up with them. Thank you for participating and for helping our league.
We got NC on the jammer line for DV. Tornado Alley for the Bombshells. Shoots the high rail and is successful at getting past all DV blockers. Coming around lead jam. NC working and waiting for some active offense. Neutralized to the infield by Mads and Juicy and Hannibal Lecture. Alley looking for a little bit of offensive help from Mamba there in the front. Looking for a friendly, and there is none and none coming. Recycled all the way to the back of the pack. NC takes the low, neutralized by Mads to the infield. Both jammers all the way in the back of the pack, still actively working, looking for offensive help to continue scoring.
NC blocked down to the infield with the star stashed. Pack has just ground to a halt here. Alley is still mired in this scoring pass and has not finished it with 12 seconds left on the clock and then calls it off. NC got out the front. Alley definitely thinks she had all 4 of those, all 5 of those, I should say.
Definitely seeing some, yeah, again, leaning toward defense, but at the same time, we do need points to be scored for winning to happen. So Bombshells want to maintain this lead if at all possible, and DV wants to continue to chip away at it by getting lead, maintaining clock, which this is going to be good for them. Halloween's out, lead jam.
We're looking for Skid, and Skid's at the back of the pack and is now going to line up and play, multifaceted. Skid's going to line up and play defense at the back of the pack with that Bombshells defensive wall. And Ween manages to tiptoe along the inside and get clear. This is what the Valkyries are looking for in the late going.
Skid still looking for an opportunity, understanding with 30 seconds left in the jam, she could still put pressure on Ween. Instead, decides to reinforce the Bombshell wall in the back. Some active offense being played, and that is basically that's the risk, right? You put all of your eggs into one basket, and with a good sweep, all 4 or 5 Bombshells can get taken out, and Ween could come around with another scoring pass. So Skid doesn't have enough time to get around. Ween actively scoring here in the back, trying to get whatever is left, whatever is possible. Works so hard up here in turn 4. A fantastic jam by Holly Ween. Clap.
Man, a ton of penalties all came in at the same time. I saw somebody tapping their helmet. It's going to be a power jam for the Bombshells, but first a timeout. The Valkyries signaling for a team timeout. So we'll verify that that is actually what it was. And it is. So there it is. Team timeout. Valkyries just closed that gap 125-122 with 6:49 to go in regulation, and they're going to critical power jam for the Bombshells coming up. Can the Valkyries keep this into single digits and keep that lead in the single digits? The Valkyries just about had a lead change here heading into this power jam. So we'll find out from the officials if there's any changes coming up. Shouldn't be. This is not an official timeout, so we should be facing a Bombshells power jam when we come out of this.
So I would say that in general, for the fans watching, a successful power jam, as far as the team that's offensively scoring, is going to be 10 points or more. A successfully defended power jam is going to be 5 points or less. So the more your team is successful at reducing the swing that a power jam causes, the more successful they are defensively. But the Bombshells really want to be able to use this opportunity to re-stretch that lead as far as possible, because 6 minutes and 49 seconds is plenty of time for the lead to shrink back to 3 like it is now.
Yes. So the Bombshells only have 2 blockers. Bombshells, not a power jam. Look at that, not a power jam when it is all said and done after discussion. So it is Mimi Mahler and Skid Vicious. Huge for the Valkyries. Once that was established after the timeout, Skid Vicious on the jammer line with Mimi Mahler. The Bombshells, as I mentioned, only have 2 blockers, and so just like that, Mimi Mahler is out, and suddenly this could be hugely advantageous for the Valkyries.
The
Wow.
longer the DV are successful at neutralizing Skid, the more opportunities Mimi will have for a full scoring pass. All that's left, Mimi immediately calls a jam. Looked like Mimi hit the hips right as her referee was behind the pole. Did go ahead and signal again, and the jam was called off right after the jammer line as Mimi came around at a turn 4.
Yes, so we're going to check from the infield. Definitely 4 points. Valkyries have taken the lead, 126-125 with 6 minutes to go in regulation. Timeout before we get to that. Bombshells are going to use their final timeout of the game. So game reset. Neither team has a timeout remaining. Both teams have their second half challenge that they can use. Infidel Castro is rather famous for using that second half challenge creatively as a team timeout late in the game, so keep an eye on that. We will have to see. But, yeah, both teams can definitely still stop the clock once more.
So the ghost of the 20-point deficit has been, what do you want to call it, exercised?
Exercised.
For
We are back to the
now.
same score we were at halftime. It was 82-81 at the half. We have fought 45 points onto the board for both teams here. 44 points on the board for both teams here. I can count. Super exciting. As you said, playoff seeding is the Draggers. The Coffin Draggers are currently number 1 in the standings. Draggers have one more bout to skate. The Runaway Brides are locked in at 3-1. The Valkyries, if they can win here, and if they could hypothetically beat the Draggers in March, there would be 3 teams at 3-1. But the Valkyries would have to win here and then beat the Draggers.
So then we'll be talking about tie breaks if that ends up happening.
That
so
would
we
be
have
absolutely crazy.
Skating
back
on the
to
line.
it.
Yep, for DV. And we have, was that Tornado Alley for the Bombshells. Both with a cautious approach. 3-wall of defense for Red in the back. Alley trying her luck on the high side against the rail. Small lateral movements being executed by both teams, trying to leave as little space as possible for their jammers to get space to accelerate. So we're really trying to lock it down, both teams. But in this situation, both teams would do well to try to get lead and score. It is about being lead by at least 1 point.
There we go.
After 5 minutes and 32 seconds have elapsed.
Stitches takes over as jammer for the Valkyries and gets out. Lead jammer, everything here in the late going. You want to be in control, and Stitches has finished a scoring pass, and he'll be coming around for more.
In. Yep, that jammer's still in.
Yes.
Stitches has another opportunity to come around and score. Regular jams with multiple scoring passes, not very common, but very, very impactful and powerful. Stitches takes one good shot from Olive. They both end up in the infield. Stitches is still, remember, lead and lapped.
And the clock expires on that jam. One of the Bombshells heading back to the bench, trying to adjust the knee pad, it looks like. That's all of you die, favoring a leg heading back to the bench.
Having your knee pad slide down is the worst. You heard it here.
So 9 big points for the Valkyries. There's going to be about 4.5 minutes. Well, there's going to be 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go in regulation when Bender blows this whistle. 4:38.
Hollyween on the jammer line for DV, and Skid Vicious on the jammer line.
Valkyries have a double-digit lead, 135-125. They've swung this entirely in their favor here in the fourth quarter. It's been a 30-point swing.
Yeah, that regular jam with the DV able to neutralize the Bombshell jammer in jam 48 was actually really critical to the kinds of gameplay and even lineups we're going to see called for the rest of the jam. You see how rapidly DV is trying to get lead. They understand how critical it is for them to be able to control and or maintain any lead at all with this few minutes left in the game.
That's what the Bombshells need, though. There goes Skid Vicious out of the pack for the Bombshells. They need to get lead jam and put points on the board and keep the Valkyries from scoring.
Which means DV needs to wall up, which is exactly what you saw here.
Yes.
They went into points protector, a nice, strong, and flat wall in the front, trying to make sure that Skid has as little opportunity as possible while the jam expires.
So, strong defense played by the Valkyries at the front of the pack. However, the Bombshells are probably going to get a few points on the board, and we'll find out here momentarily.
MC or Nikki?
3 points for the Bombshells after discussion. So 135, 128. Valkyries are in front, 3:07 to go. Olive you die for the Bombshells. Sandra Slay O'Connor for the Valkyries. Olive has the star off and is fighting at the front of the pack. Gets routed off to the infield by motion sickness.
It is definitely getting critical here. So you're going to see ideally defense and offense being played as the initial strategy, and ideally for whichever team is the most successful, that not changing. So we have Stitches out in the front. Mads is unsuccessful at blocking Stitches and coming around lead jam. DV trying to stretch and maintain the lead that they have right now.
And definitely
8-point lead.
jam being everything here late.
Yes,
the
yes.
Valkyries want to steer this ship as we get down with just over 2 minutes to go in regulation. Stitches pinned to the rail hard. Mads up to the task that time. And Stitches is going to go ahead and let all that time run off the clock. The
Yes.
Valkyries.
And as you're here all the time being shouted into the track from the Bride's fans over here, currently spectating. So what they're trying to say is, even if Stitches is not successful at scoring any more points or getting out on additional passes, they want to maintain control by eating the rest of the jam clock away.
Yes. The real Slim Skady on the jammer line once again for the Valkyries. And Skid Vicious once again for the Bombshells. There's going to be about 1:38 to go in regulation when this jam starts. Skid Vicious off the jam line. Tornado Alley on the jam line. Skid into the pack to play defense. Interesting switch here late in the game.
And this score is really going to determine what teams do for the rest of the 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Allie coming around lead jam. Bombshell fans are super excited to see another opportunity for additional points for their team. Basically untouched through the front of the pack. That'll be a full scoring pass for Allie. And Skady still in the back. Should see a defensive shutdown soon from DV. Going to want to staunch anyway, any bleeding that's happening. Unsuccessful. Allie unable to get her footing, but is still out in the front after a scoring pass.
15 seconds left in the jam, and Allie is coming around for what could be lead-taking points for the Bombshells with under a minute to go.
Plenty of time.
7
NC
seconds left, and here
front.
comes Allie, runs into NC, gets chipped, is up to that front wall, blocked to the infield. Cheer from the Bombshells crowd. They think the Bombshells have taken the lead. Let's find out. All right, we're going to find out. Your last two jammers coming up for the last jam of regulation are going to be Mimi Mahler for the Valkyries and All of You Die for the Bombshells. They're discussing the score on the infield. Regulation clock is going to tick down 3 more seconds, and then the regulation clock is going to freeze. 7 seconds left in regulation. There's going to be an official timeout as they're continuing to discuss the score.
Yeah, they're just going to make sure that everything
7
is
seconds left in
matchy.
Yes, I was going to say, it's important to note the Bombshells points are not up. 140, 128, but the points from the previous jam are not up yet. Still under discussion, and then the jam ref is going to have to come up here and talk with the eye in the sky. I think I just heard that's your jammer. Let's find out. They'll put that whiteboard up momentarily, and we might be able to get a look at it. Okay. 13 points for the Bombshells. The Bombshells have gone in front by 1 point. 7 seconds left in regulation. If you're not going to get on your feet for this last jam, I don't know what you're doing. I'll tell you what, no matter what side you're on, I want to see every fan in this house get up when this game starts. Not now. Don't be crazy. You know, save your energy.
Save
but
your
seriously,
energy.
I want to see everybody in here get up and get a good view of this thing when we come back.
I disagree, Clifton. Don't save your energy. The night is very, 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 very close to being over. Spend all of your energy right now.
All right, so there's still discussion going on.
Okay, we get a let's go.
Now we got a whistle, and it's going to be a challenge by the Bombshells. So the Bombshells are challenging what has to be a jammer penalty. We are facing the Valkyries possibly having a power jam for all the marbles in the game with 7 seconds to go in regulation. This challenge is for that.
This game was everything we thought it was going to be, Clifton.
Everything you thought it was going to be. You said like during warm-ups you thought this game was going to be this good.
Roller derby premonition.
All right. So that's the challenge. That's what we're facing right now. Will the Valkyries have a power jam, or will it be an even strength jam for the last jam in regulation?
People are pacing. People are sweating. It's fantastic.
We'll watch that discussion continue. I'm trying to give you, I'm sure they have it. All right, so now the discussion will proceed with Meryl Streak, head referee, joining those referees at the back of it. We don't usually bring you play-by-play of a challenge, but this is pretty significant. So discussion continuing. Tornado Alley is being fanned on the bench to cool down.
Sometimes I think it's relatively well known that power jams can swing momentum and or leads, but I think the not knowing whether or not you have a power jam can at least like make it a little bit more scintillating.
Yeah. Yeah, and imagine being on the bench right now for the Valkyries trying to decide, are we planning for having to be ready to shift into power O at a moment's notice or playing a full strength jam coming up. So
right,
yeah.
So it's not just about the power jam itself, it's about when the power jam is being called, for sure.
Man, there's so many things that could happen. If this was a power jam, could you imagine a game ending with a 0-point power jam?
It could happen.
It could.
You know how much I love a 0-point
yes,
power jam.
That would be absolutely crazy as this discussion is continuing. As we said, once again, 141-140, Bombshells in front. 7 seconds left in regulation, and right now, Tornado Alley is in the penalty box for the Bombshells. The challenge is continuing in the back straightaway. Regulators are discussing if this penalty will be overturned or not.
I wonder if Cheryl's is resting there, or she's also being penalized. So that would be.
Al points out that Sherles is in the penalty box, so Sherles, it would be an even strength jam if it is not a power jam. No, that would be an advantage for the Bombshells. Yeah. And then would Castro challenge it, depending? We'll have to find out. I know I said get up on your feet. See, I told you. I warned you I was getting a little over-exuberant.
Our fans have the stamina, Clifton. I trust them. They can do it.
This is... Yeah, I know. Freya, your hair looks wonderful. I just wanted to let you know.
It does look fresh. The suspense.
Yeah, the suspense, the spirited discussion continuing in the back straightaway amongst the officials, safely amongst themselves. The after party is at Thunderbird Lounge. It is broken up. Remember, I can't tell you right away what the answer is. You got to wait until the coaches are headed back to their benches, but we're going to hear momentarily, and then we get to tell you. Penalty in question was a cut track penalty on Tornado Alley. And like I said, I can bring you the results momentarily. I'm not being coy. We're not allowed to say until the benches have heard. And then the benches get told. Now here comes Castro. The benches have not heard, I don't think, because the Bombshells haven't heard. So I am still not allowed to tell you. Maintain, everybody. As I said, cut track was the penalty. Tornado Alley, cut on red 6 is what I heard. This is the second time. Remember, it was a cut track on Alley before. It was red 6, cut jammer. And I said that. That was the 4 words the Bombshells didn't want to hear. That's the same penalty that got rescinded last time. I'm not leaning either way. There it is. Penalty upheld. Valkyries power jam
yes,
for
let's go.
all the marbles. No challenges
very
remaining for the
exciting.
Bombshells. The Valkyries have a power jam. Can the Bombshells hold defensively with their 4 blockers? The Valkyries have 3 blockers. As we said, Valkyries down 1 blocker. The Valkyries just need 2 points to wrap this up. Can they do it? Here we go. 7 seconds left in regulation.
And they have chosen Captain Mimi Mahler to represent them in their final opportunity from scoring. They really want to get lead. She is lead, coming around with a full head of steam and plenty of time. 50 seconds still left on the jam clock. Game regulation clock is over, so whatever Mimi is able to score in the 42 seconds that is left is what will be awarded to the Valkyries. Resets to the back of the pack.
Yep, spun to the infield. And
Resets to the back of the
calls it
pack
off.
and is confident that maybe enough points were scored. Let's see.
She felt that she got those points. Let's find out. Bender B. Rodriguez is going to wait by trackside. Let's find out what the score was first, and then check to see on penalties. Again, we don't have a whiteboard, so we're just going to have to rely on the regulator's signals. 1 moment.
Are you joking on the 4 or the 0? The 0. Oh, okay.
Looks like they're making sure that everything is recorded properly in the infield before the game is
Valkyries
called.
put 4 points on the board. 144, 141. No time on the clock. What do we have? The discussion now. The officials are going to discuss penalties, and let's find out. A penalty jam could change everything.
And it would have been who was leading at the before that jam.
Can you imagine if Mimi picked up a penalty and the penalty jam was a power jam for the Bombshells? But we
Goodness
have to wait and
gracious.
see. Will there be a penalty jam, or is this
suspense.
over? Here comes head referee Meryl Streak. That's probably going to do it. That's it!
That's it. The Valkyries
Final whistle.
are able to
Taking
hold off
the
the Bombshells
lead.
right there at the end. Wow.
Wow. Taking the lead on the last jam of the game and victorious. Your final score, 144-141. The Doomsday Valkyries are 2-1 on the season. What an effort from both of these teams, and I mean it. What a bout.
Thank you for all the DV and Bombshell fans and
Yes.
our skating colleagues that stuck around to watch this fantastic game. Thank you to everybody watching online,
And here
and we
come-
will see everybody in March.
Here come the Bombshells to the cheer of their crowd. The Bombshells gave them hell. You can't get much closer than that, I'll tell you what. And I will say confidently that nobody wants what the Bombshells are bringing in the playoffs. I don't care if the Bombshells end up as the 4 seed going in the playoffs. I don't think anybody wants any of this nonsense.
Regular season records are only to be given
Yes.
so much weight.
Yes, and the way that our league works, that is the way that it works. And really, it's interesting. I love that all teams get to play each other, and then the playoffs are so thrilling. So as we said, league reset. Number 1 in the standings, the Coffin Draggers at 3-0. Number 2 in the standings and done for the season, the Runaway Brides at 3-1. Number 3 in the standings, the Doomsday Valkyries at 2-1. So that is the top end of the standings bracket, and we could end up with, if the Valkyries, who play the Draggers next March, you can't write this stuff, should the Valkyries manage to beat the Draggers, there would be 3 teams at 3-1. If the Draggers win, they will be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Crazy. First tiebreaker is point differential, says Al. So, super exciting times. So we're going to get out of here. Al, thank you, and I'd like to thank Sherles as well. Greatly appreciated. What a couple of great bouts tonight. Absolutely thrilling, both of them. Thank you for joining us. Your next regular season bout here at the Hall of Dames is Saturday, March 7th, and it is the Bombshells and the Brutal Beauties fighting for the 4th place in the standings officially versus the Coffin Draggers and the Valkyries fighting for the Draggers to get the 1 seed and the Valkyries to make everything real complicated. We will see you in 1 month